Hello, everyone. This is Professor Jack, and this is Chapter 10 Dating, Mate Selection, and Living Together. Today I'm in a good mood, and I'm gonna get a little bit romantic on you, okay? We have this chapter to cover, and, I'm definitely feeling it, okay? And I'm feeling not the romance, but I'm in good mood, okay? Let's just say that, okay? And, this is a great chapter to discuss and to cover all together. I know that some of you are doing your readings, perhaps you're experiencing a little bit of difficulty. But even if you're not doing your readings because you don't have a textbook, make sure you copy all my notes and you have them ready for your test and whatnot, okay? It's your responsibility, okay? Anyways, okay. Dating, let's go ahead and go in stages, okay? The first stage would be dating, right? Romance. Romance proposes an ideal situation of an integration of two people into an ideal climate of friendship, shared values, communication, including intimacy and passion, companionship and comprehension. Is that clear? Is that accurate? Okay, that's what romance is. Okay, it proposes an ideal situation, right? So it's a little bit fantasizing, right? I mean, it's ideal, not necessarily realistic. Okay, of course, you're in the infatuation stage, right? So we don't know any better, right? Romance many times has a tendency of expiring, hence a realistic consciousness of what was once a fantasy. That's kind of a good way to put that in my very own words, right? And of course, I'm being romantic, so I have a poem for you, okay? And this poem reads the following way: Poetry is the art of rhythmical composition written or spoken for exciting pleasure by beautiful, imaginative, or elevated thoughts. Okay, is that accurate? That's kind of another good definition for that. And then I have a verse for you, okay? And it involves a poem, okay? Now, check it out. If poetry is love's non-material culture, then this rose is its material culture because it is symbolic of my love for you. Now, that's a poem using a sociological perspective, I guess, right? A sociological perspective on culture, using culture to try to romance the society, I guess, right? Okay, so just kind of a little bit of that, okay? And let's go ahead and discuss cohabitation again is one of these themes and or subjects that continue to come every chapter almost, right? You might want to refer back to previous lectures regarding this liberal form of family life. This will allow you to this will allow you to know how cohabitation is a liberty of choice decided by most couples nowadays, and is very more prevalent with young people than with older people, right? Experts disagree about the impact of cohabitation on the qualities of couples' subsequent marriage and whether it increases the chance of divorce. Now, I have two curiosities or two thoughts. First one, I am curious about the negative influence that cohabitation may have on marriage altogether. What do you think? Do you have the same curiosity? How about this? Then I have a question. Is there a relationship between cohabitation and divorce rates? Well, the answer is yes, right? Let's just get the stats, but yeah, there is. And that's because we have the facts already, right? So go back to my sociological trend, and you'll go ahead and see those things, right? Cohabitation facts. First one. Cohabitation is increasing in popularity, and of course, I think I gave you these facts already on a previous slide, so make sure you go back and study these, and if I didn't, then you could go ahead and keep these, just keep them, and of course, when I say keep, I mean save them, so that you're ready for the test, okay? So it's kind of the same, saying keep. I'm not saying use them to do your own lectures. No, just go ahead and use and keep them as notes, okay? For your study and for your growth and development altogether in this class. So these are some cohabitation facts. And then also I have this slide talks about mate selection. And this is kind of on the previous chapter, I think I gave you, or 2 chapters ago, I forgot, I gave you a characteristics on deciding on a mate, and good Mr. Perfect, perhaps, right? And I give you 10 characteristics. I kind of forgot if it was last or the previous from the last chapter. But how to select your mate. Historically, young people needed a guide for marriage, and it was not a liberal decision to be made by themselves. Here are some of these guides, past guides. Dad and mom, right? And then, of course, religion had a lot to do with that, given that religion was the second most influential agent of socialization. I kind of gave you a slide on that as well. it is well understood that it was decided many times by family, mom and dad, and also sometimes religious leader, right? Kind of telling you what was best, right? Well, parent arranged marriages remain common and are effective in many non-industrialized cultures today. In the U.S., individual choice courtship is the norm. Okay, here we do not need no one to tell us what to do, right? I mean, we're liberal, we're free, and this we have this freedom. So liberty, it's a it's a choice, right? And in many other countries, they, because of their religion or culture or beliefs or philosophies, they still practice this way, right? But we don't here in America, in the U.S. of America. Here's factors that influence mate selection for Americans: physical attractiveness, perhaps personality, age, life success, principles of exogamy and endogamy, right? I mean, these are things that we consider as Americans in when selecting a mate, and when saying mate, also I'm talking about marriage partner, right? Question two, and the question two, because the previous slide I gave you question one. Question two: what about the belief in God and our religious beliefs before marriage or mate selection? Where do we live? Where do we leave faith? Is it an important ingredient or one we should go ahead and continue to throw down the drain? And would it be important to have? Okay, or it's just wasting our time? All these different ways and forms that people and family use to try to trap us into making us do whatever they want. Is that kind of one way we could see that for young people? You don't need to tell me what to do. You don't need to tell me. The church leader does not need to tell me how to live my life. I know how to do that. Well, that's that, right? Okay. So there is not one good answer when it comes to mate selection. Here are four theories about mate selection. These include the following: homogamy theory, filter theory, stimulus value role theory, and wheel theory of love. Okay, the first one, homogamy theory. Sorry, homogamy theory. It proposes that people are attracted to each other, to others who are like themselves. And then the filter theory states that the process people use to narrow the field of eligible partners is choice, is what they do, right? Stimulus value role theory. It holds that the initial attraction, value, and role compatibility determine mate selection. And then we have wheel theory of love. It explains that the four interdependent components in the development of a love relationship: rapport, self-revelation, mutual dependency, and intimacy need fulfillment, or so. So these are four different theories that do not agree with each other, perhaps, right? And that people use nowadays, scientists use nowadays to understand why people behave the way they behave, right? And why marriage continues to fall down, right? And we continue to have a lot worse rates of marriage than previous years and decades before, right? Mate selection, of course, sexual intimacy is one of the things that most married people would, practice, right? Old people versus young people. And research on dating reveals that older individuals experience the same emotional effects as young people, but that their dates are often more creative than those of younger people. So they give more time to precision and detail, right? Older couples do become sexually involved as well. But they look at sexual intimacy in a more realistic manner, right? I mean, and it's not. It's more also dealing with the relationship, right, than just the sex part. The older you are, the more mature you are, I guess, right? Now, violence, and it's curious why the author would include violence in this chapter. I mean, I started romantic, right? And we're starting with poetry, and then mate selection and intimacy, and now violence. Well, seems like violence in couple relationships is a cultural universal and has been prevalent throughout our human history, right? Okay, so courtship violence. Courtship violence. Since we're talking about violence and we are discussing it, a formerly neglected area of research has come under careful scrutiny in the past several years. Why? Well, violence during the dating stage leads to violence during the domestic stage. So I mean, the violence is definitely one of those characteristics. They add an 11th characteristic there in selecting a mate, right? Because it leads. One stage leads to the other. So hopefully this was great to you. This was only chapter 10. Thank you very much for your time. This is Professor Jack.